Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Wei Hung. Welcome to our masterclass on full mouth reconstruction, part 5. So, what are we going to talk about in this part today? I'm going to share a basic introduction to All-on-X full mouth implant reconstruction. Let's take a look. So, what is everyone's impression of All-on-X? It's probably full mouth implants, immediate loading. It has some special features which I'll share with you. Essentially, we often introduce tilted implants to increase the range of support we can achieve. And we often don't need to do bone grafting. We can also often do immediate loading, and what else? We often use a full arch design. This concept actually started with the early scholar Skalak, who analyzed this geometric structure for us. 4 to 6 implants can indeed support a full arch, which is okay, and his biomechanical analysis of the tilted implant is actually reasonable. So this particular framework was actually considered and taken into account right from the very beginning of the process. As for the idea of combining this framework with the concept of immediate loading, we can, for the most part, attribute that innovative approach to the renowned scholar Paulo Malo. In addition to establishing a treatment protocol, he also put it into practice on a large scale and did case follow-ups, establishing the concept of all-on-X or all-on-4. Now, because all-on-4 has become so famous, some similar full-mouth implant designs are now called all-on-X. But it's not necessarily a tilted implant, not necessarily at the abutment level, and not necessarily immediate loading. However, generally speaking, people have become accustomed to calling this type of structure that, but the more traditional, or let's say the original version, still includes these specific features: immediate loading, tilted implant, and graftless. These are its characteristics. All right? For an implant to be able to have immediate loading, we must understand the implant's stability. If the stability is sufficient, it can provide support, right? Stability is divided into 2 types. The first is the initial stability of the implant. Right after it's placed, if there's enough torque or a sufficient ISQ, it's actually stable enough. However, this initial stability will gradually decrease over time. Then, as time passes, our bone cells and the implant will undergo osseointegration, and the secondary stability will increase. So these two are complementary. In the end, it will become stable. After osseointegration, it can bear a load, and you can load it with confidence. So in the initial phase, before osseointegration has occurred, while the initial stability is decreasing, we must seize the golden window of opportunity. Some say it's 2 days, others say it's a week. You have to apply the loading component then, so you don't wait until the bone is loose to start the loading part. You have to be very careful about this. Okay, and in addition, the act of splinting can actually increase the stability of the prosthesis because they support each other. It's the concept of strength in unity. For osseointegration, these factors like torque and ISQ are all for stability, to reduce micromotion so that the bone can heal properly. The second key point is distribution. This implant distribution is very important. We often hear about AP spread, which simply put is a rule of thumb for whether you can have a cantilever. So in short, what I hope everyone understands is that as long as you have enough implants, 4 or more, and they can be evenly distributed across the entire arch, then that is a more suitable design. When you want to push the limits, you need to do some calculations to see if the cantilever exceeds a reasonable range. Next is bone quality. For immediate loading, the implant must be stable enough. You need to find enough bone in the upper and lower jaws, and the implant distribution must be able to support the entire arch. So you will often incorporate tilted implants in the mandible to increase your occlusal surface area. Often, when the maxillary bone is softer, you might need to place implants in the zygoma, pterygoid, or transsinus to support the posterior region. The anterior bone is also relatively important. When you don't have anterior bone, you might need the posterior zygoma to provide support anteriorly. These are the parts you need to pay special attention to. And this surgical aspect is actually very profound and complex. It can range from an outpatient procedure to one that might require you to go into the operating room. Additionally, when you make a prosthesis, besides functional support, you also need it to be aesthetic. Regarding aesthetics, the factors you consider are actually quite similar to those when designing a regular prosthesis. This includes lip support, which is related to dentures, right? The incisal edge, when you're considering aesthetics, you need to